Welcome to the Takeoff Experience, where I sit down with highly driven people to talk about their journey, their failures, and their successes. If you want to take off in your career, your business, your finances, or your mindset, then this podcast is for you. Welcome back to the Takeoff. We got a special guest blessing us in the booth this week. Benedicta is a qualified accountant, financial coach, speaker, and founder of Beniratio Finances, where she helps business owners with their finance and accounting so that they can focus on making a profit. How are you doing today, Benedicta?
I am good. Coming off the bank holiday weekend, so nice and rested.
Yeah, I bet you are. It was your birthday the other day,
Yes,
wasn't
it was on Saturday. It was my birthday.
Lovely. And what did you get up to for your birthday?
We went to the beach and we had
Wow.
some good food. You know, normally you go to the beach and you just think, you just eat for convenience, not like because you go to the Michelin star restaurant or anything. But the food was amazing, and the weather was good. The sun was shining, so yeah, it was just nice to be outside.
You lucked out. You lucked out proper, because the weather is terrible today.
Now I know.
Man. Well, happy belated birthday. Hope that you had a good weekend. But yeah, I've been looking forward to this conversation. As a fellow KPMG, we both worked at KPMG. I actually never used to mention that I worked at KPMG in my previous episodes because I kind of just wanted to keep that a secret. And I always look forward to this question. So what is your worst financial mistake?
My personal one?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I don't know if I'm ready to share this with the world yet. So I might go for my second worst.
Okay, go for your second worst.
I'll share my worst one day when I'm brave enough to really go into the details, because it will raise a lot of questions. But I'd say one of my worst ones was actually lending my overdraft.
Wow.
This is a year back in the day. I was still in uni. I lent my overdraft money to someone who promised to pay back, and it was a nightmare getting that money back. And the worst thing is, obviously, I gave it to them as one big lump sum of money, right? And then because of whatever challenges they were going through, and the truth is, I didn't even know them like that personally. To be fair, even if I did, it probably wouldn't have made a difference. But then when they were paying me back, in like dribs and drabs. Like, it was a painful and stressful experience. So yeah, never ever do that. Thankfully, I was a student, so it was interest free, and I think I did pay it off before. By the time interest started kicking in and stuff, but the stress and the stress was just not worth it. And like I say, because the money was coming back in drips and drabs, it was hard to gather. So yeah.
Lending money is such a tricky thing. Like, I haven't really spoke about it at length. I feel like, it's difficult you can't really judge somebody on doing that, right? You're doing something out of the kindness of your heart. You want to help somebody out, That's it, really.
My rule of thumb is now, don't lend what you can't lose, what you can't afford to lose. So when I do lend people money now, I literally say to myself in my mind, if you never get this money back, will you be okay? How will you feel? And obviously depending on the amount as well. So if it's like, I remember someone I lent £250 to last year. Oh yeah, I'll pay you back next month. They took, I don't know how, they took so long that I forgot that they owed me money, right? But exactly, that's where I wanted to be, in a position where it's like, if you pay, no problem. If you don't pay, whatever. Like, I'm doing it out of the kindness of my heart. So if you choose not to pay, no problem. But then that's where, like, amounts and who the person is. So how much I might be willing to let a distant friend off will be different. How much I might be willing to let my family member off, for example. And then how much I'll be willing to potentially lose. So I literally I say now, since ages now, but I don't lend money that I can't afford to lose, basically.
I think it's the best rule of thumb to definitely have, because otherwise you're just gonna be, and it's also good to say no too. There's been times I'm like, had to say to people,
sorry, mate.
It's not a good time right now, the month, this has been a tough month,
We've all got bills to pay. Yeah, I definitely have no problem saying no. Definitely.
Yeah.
And I've grown in my confidence of saying no over the years as well, more and more.
Yeah.
And I have realized that people will be upset with you, whether you do and whether you don't. So do what's best for you, basically.
Exactly. And they won't be upset forever. They'll forget it. It's not at the end of the day, right? I think it's even worse that if you give it to them and they don't give it back to you, it's like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
But okay, cool. Very, very interesting. Can you give us a bit of an insight into the day in life of Benedicta?
Ooh. Constantly on my phone and constantly on my laptop. Not because I am addicted to just scrolling, but literally working full time, managing my business it's literally 2 full-time jobs and then some. So I was saying my mum came to stay over with us for Easter. She was like, oh, you finished work now? I'm like, yeah, but I need to start Beniratio meetings now. So I literally, sometimes I'm at work, and obviously working from home has really helped, by the way, I must confess. But sometimes I'm at home, I've got my work laptop and my personal, like my business laptop on the side. I've literally always on my emails because I just need to check. And don't get me wrong, I do have help and assistance, and that's really changed the game for me. But there are things, so I don't necessarily do everything in my business, but I have to have oversight over everything, if that makes sense. So the people who are assisting me will need to run certain things. They know how to do a lot of things, but some things it's like, oh, can you help on this? So I'm always having to message them to say, say this or don't say that, or do this or don't do that. Obviously whilst doing my job, because at the moment I'm doing both. So it is quite long days, sometimes early mornings too, but I try to keep my mornings for God, try and have my quiet time, because if I don't, the day will just run away from me. So try to wake up, have some time with God in the morning, get dressed and everything for work, and let the day begin. But once 5, 6, whatever time I finish work, I start my evening session with Beniratio till probably like 9, 10 at least.
Wow.
Meetings, work, and all of that good stuff. I used to, before I had help, I don't do it as much anymore, but sometimes, and my husband will confess, I would literally be on my laptop till 6 o'clock in the morning doing business stuff. This is when I didn't have any help. I didn't have my processes and systems. I was still trying to work it all out. So a lot of things were manual. I didn't have a lot of things automated. Now I do. I have literally been on my laptop and seen the sun come back up. It's like 6, 7 o'clock. I'll run into bed for like an hour and a half to wake up, have a quick shower, get dressed, and be back on my work laptop for 9 o'clock meeting. Like, hey, how's it going?
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's insane. Wow.
But not all the time.
Your work ethic is mad.
Not all the time. But it was needed at that time.
Yeah. That's fair enough. And I think this is the life of entrepreneurs. Sometimes you have to put in crazy hours at the end of the day, because if you don't put that in, nobody else is going to put it in for you, right? You've got to put in the groundwork.
If you don't build your business, no one will build it for you, and no one can build it how you would want it to be built. Exactly. Literally, like I've definitely learned that, because even everything that the people that help me now do is because I've done it myself before, so I can tell them how to do it, and I've been able to set the structure. If I didn't have that experience of doing it myself, I wouldn't be able to tell them the best way, if that makes sense, or how I want it to be for Beniratio. And you've got to do it yourself. No one can do it like you. No one has the vision in their head and all of that. So
Wow. Good luck. I'm glad that you're getting your sleep now.
Yes. It's costing me though.
But yeah. Sometimes though, you need that, right? Sometimes the money has to go somewhere.
And I'll be honest, right? And this is kind of mixing in business finance and personal finance. Because of the fact that I do work a lot, the truth is I have soft life on every other area. So like, I get cleaners, I buy food ready, like from aunties, ready made. I'm just being honest, like I can't do it all. So I'll be like, something has to give, and so because of that, I will be like, I do spend money on other areas to help me, if that makes sense, because otherwise it'll all be falling apart basically.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong buying your food made already, because I think Tasty's got some good deals. I swear, we went there one time and they were doing a bucket of chicken and stew for £50. We were like, this is
A
crazy.
bucket.
You can feel like, yeah, you can feel like 10 containers. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah. Trust me,
So
I've got all them aunties' numbers in my phone. Auntie, how much is this? How much is that? So yeah, I know how to try and balance it out, because I literally, if I'm working that much, I can't be in the kitchen all day, and obviously I'm married as well, so I have to still like be a responsible wife.
yeah. See, you got to balance the duties. I love to hear these stories. So I wanted to go back in time a bit to understand like your origin. So where are your parents from, for the listeners?
Nigeria, of course.
Okay, Nigeria. And particular tribe?
So I am as well. We are from Delta State.
Okay.
So down south in Nigeria.
Okay.
Where the oil is, that's where we come from.
Where the oil is.
And I am Orobo, for anyone who cares to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both of my parents are Orobo. Both of them come from close villages near each other.
Wow. And do you go often to Nigeria?
I try to go to Nigeria often. Well, when I was younger, we used to go like every 3 years. My mum would make sure that we go every 3 years. But I got married to someone who lived in Nigeria. Okay. So since then, it's made us go more often. Minus COVID, which meant we didn't go for for like the 2 years. But we was there literally 2 weeks ago now. Came back at the end of March.
Wow. Sick.
Because my in-laws and all of that are all out there.
Wow. Living life. That's bad.
I like Nigeria. I would like to. One of my goals is to actually have I call it a 6 months on and a 6 months off life. Okay. Whereby I can live in Nigeria or any African country that I choose, or any country in the world where the sun shines for like 6 months of the year, and live in the UK for 6 months. That's like my ultimate lifestyle thing that I want to do. So yeah.
You're gonna do it. I believe you'll do it, and I believe you'll get there. It's possible, especially if you have that goal. And in terms of Nigeria, were you born there? Were you born here? Born somewhere else?
No, I was born here. I was born in Southeast London, Camberwell, King's College Hospital, to be precise.
Oh wow!
Grown up, I grew up I've literally lived in London I've never lived in another country. I've always been in London. I've always been in South London, actually, Southeast London, until last year when I moved to the east side. So yeah, South London. I know all of those back roads from wherever to wherever in South is at the back of my hand. Honestly.
Yeah, bad. Yeah, I'm a South. I've always lived in South. I've only not lived in South when I lived in Brighton for university. Aside from that, I've always lived in Southeast. I
even went to London. I went to university.
Really? Oh man, what uni did you go to?
I went to Westminster.
Okay.
I say unfortunately, but fortunately then. Because actually I had an offer for LSE and I always wanted to go to LSE, but I kind of messed around in my last year of college, so that didn't happen. And I had to go through clearing, and for an A-star student like myself, going through clearing was like, at that time, the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. So yeah, I literally found out I was going to Westminster like a week before.
That's insane.
But it worked out because I was able to get onto a placement. I always wanted to do a placement here. So I got a placement through the uni. And if I wasn't going to that uni, I wouldn't have been able to get it. And basically, ultimately, it all led up to me, like the career and the path that I chose in the end anyway. Yeah. So it worked out.
Wow. I always say, I think the university choice is so interesting because I didn't go through clearing, but I had a little bit of a scare that I had to go through clearing because I didn't get quite the grade. I got the points, but I didn't get the grades in the way they wanted. But they kind of had a little bit of delay. Yeah, so I went to University of Sussex. They had a little bit of a delay in getting back to me, so I had to go through the whole clearing thing. So it was nerve-wracking for me as well. But I think ultimately, I feel like if you're a capable student and you put your head down, it doesn't really matter what university you go to. You'll make it. Of course, everybody says Oxford, Cambridge, blah 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 blah, but I just think that I've met people from some of not the best unis per se, and they've they're working at big companies. So I just don't really think it's as important as
Yeah.
they make it.
I I definitely learned from that experience that there's always another way, because like you say, especially at that age, life can be quite small. There's not so many things that you know.
Yeah.
And so for you, it's like they tell you get the best grades, go to the best, then you can go to the best uni, and when you go to the best uni you can get the best jobs, right? And yeah, that does flow, and yes, that is right. But as you and I will both know, so for example, I did always want to work in like the top companies and stuff. I didn't go there straight away because I didn't go to the best uni, but I was able to get in later on as an experienced hire. When you're in college or uni, they don't tell you anything about experienced hire. Nope. You feel like if you don't go in as a grad,
that's it.
That's it, kind of thing. But there is always other ways, and like you say, that's why you end up meeting people from different walks of life, because actually when we all become adults, no one cares what uni you went to.
Exactly. They definitely don't. So if listeners, if you're at uni right now, or if you're deciding what uni you're going to, don't worry too much about it. You know, you
just
can
apply
always
yourself
to life.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like you said, wherever you find yourself, just apply yourself. Do the best, and the rest will like work itself out.
Yeah. So of course, I don't have to guess. What did you study at university?
What do you think I studied?
Accounting
Why
and
do you
finance.
say you don't have to guess?
Accounting and finance.
No,
No,
I did not.
you didn't. Okay.
No, I always wanted to be an economist, so I studied business economics. I was meant when I had the offer for LSE, I was going to study straight economics.
Okay.
When I had to go through clearing, Westminster didn't do just economics, but they did business economics.
Okay.
And boy, am I glad I did that course, because in my final year, the way they do it is, because it's a business economics degree, you start out with business, and then as you progress, it's more and more economics. And basically, in my last year, it was just economics. And some of those classes, I'm like, what am I doing here? Econometrics, trying to do policy with algebra. I'm just like, I like maths, but you guys are taking it to the next level. So
this is crazy. Wow. Wow, that's so interesting. And I mean, we're not going to talk about like, you know, do they teach you relevant things at uni? But I wanted to understand, like, did you decide that you wanted to do business economics? You always had a love for maths. That's the path that you wanted to take.
So yeah, I've always loved maths, but obviously maths in itself doesn't get you a job.
No, it doesn't get you a job.
So like I got like A star at GCSEs and stuff like that, which is fine. But and I was always good at business. My parents are like serial entrepreneurs. They just do business basically. So doing business is a normal thing, and it wasn't surprising. But the economic side of things, which for me, I see economics as business on a country scale. So rather than a customer going to buy one thing, you're thinking about all the people in the UK needing X product and stuff like that. So for me, when I did economics at A level, I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is like the next level. And so but because I ended up having to do business economics, which I didn't plan for, it meant that I had to do accounting modules like compulsorily in first and second year. In my first year, I did financial accounting as a compulsory module. I hated it. I'm like, he wants to be an accountant. That is so dead. Like, why are you doing numbers at the end of the year? No one cares. The money's spent. Like, I was just like, this is nonsense. But yeah, I passed, obviously, because that's what you do. But then in second year, again, another compulsory module was management accounting. And that was a whole new world. I'm like, wow, this is what I do already. So things like planning and budgeting. I've always been good with numbers and money and saving and putting a bit here, you know, little side job even in secondary school and all of that kind of stuff. So when I found management accounting as a formal degree, or a formal course, I'm like, wow. And then I started researching about, you know, the difference between financial and management accounting. And then I was able to then say, all right, okay, I want to be a management accountant. Because a management accountant is someone that helps you throughout the year to get your numbers, you know, planning for the future, if that makes sense, as opposed to just coming in at the end. So that was where like my love for accounting came in.
Wow. Wow. So that's interesting. And so that's what you sort of decided that you liked at university. And then what was like your first kind of role after university or entry level? Did you do a graduate scheme?
Yeah, so what happened was, because I went to Westminster, they have a affiliation with the NHS, whereby they take on placement students.
Wow.
So after your second year, you can do a year in industry. So I applied for their NHS placement. It was finance, management accounting, or financial accounting, but mainly management accounting. So I applied for that, and I got a role. But what happened was, and I'm going to toot my own horn, they said I was the best candidate out of everyone that they took, and they hired 32 people. So they didn't place me in an NHS trust. They placed me in the Department of Health.
Wow.
I didn't even know that there was such thing. Again, how old was I? 18, 19, 20 maybe? I'm like, what is the Department of Health? I've never knew that. So this whole new world was open to me about government departments and stuff. And so, they basically only placed their highest person in that department. So I basically did a placement year there for 1 year whilst I was at uni, and then, tooting my own horn again, they kept me on, which they've never done before. Wow. So they were like, oh yeah, when you go back to uni, do you want to work 2 days a week or 3? Like, what? Literally, they allowed me choose whatever I wanted to do when I went back to uni. So in my last year of uni, I was working with them. And then as soon as I finished, then I was able to apply, because obviously I was now a graduate. I then applied for, and so I didn't go for a scheme. I just applied for like a normal job, but at a higher level, if that makes sense. And then, that was how my career in the civil service started. And I just started navigating my way through different government departments. I ended up working in the finance director's office because he heard about me. There's this girl in whatever team and blah blah. It was actually like, and that's why I said, although I hated the fact that I had to go through clearing and end up in Westminster, it actually carved out a whole like very personalized path for me. And they when I graduated, I found out that they sponsor your qualification. So they started sponsoring my management accounting, my SEMA qualification. So I was working and studying and all of that. So that was what happened.
Wow. What a story. And this just goes to show, like you said, if you apply yourself, and like you said, there's just more than one journey. And I think a lot of people like dwell on their failures a lot. Like, this didn't work out. Let me just dwell on it, and I'm not going to do any better than I can. And I just don't think life is like that. Sometimes, you'll struggle in certain areas, and then you'll learn something from it and just become better in the future. So, wow. So how long were you working in the government for, approximately?
I worked in government in total, not just in Department of Health, but in total for 8 years.
Okay,
before
8 years.
Going into KPMG.
Okay, cool. And then at that point, what made you think, okay, now I want to go and work for the Big Four?
Because I am an A-star student. I want to be where the top is. Like, you already know, like I said, you can tell I wanted to go to LSE. I wanted to be the best. Even when I did get the jobs, I was like outdoing and just overperforming in every way that I could. And so when I was in government, obviously, if I'm honest, I still had that little thing within me. I don't have it now, but at the time, I still had that kind of feeling like I didn't quite do how I wanted to, if I'm honest. That even though the path was out there for me and I wasn't like homeless or jobless on the streets or whatever, but I still felt like, no, I failed. I should have gone to LSE and I could have been at, I don't know, the top 4 straight away or whatever. So that was still within me. And then apart from that, in the government, as you can imagine, they hire a lot of contractors. So we had a lot of people that were coming from Deloitte and Accenture and PwC, and they'd be trying to tell us what to do. And in the government, with all due respect, the average age of employees is quite old, right? And the moment I was like, I need to get out of here, I was at work, and this was at Department of Health, actually. I was at work, and my colleague, she was like the PA to the finance director. And she was like, I joined here in 1975.
Wow.
I was like, what? When she said that, alarm bells started ringing in my head. I'm like, I need to get out of here. Like, I am too young to be sitting on this table with this lady who tells me that she's been here since 1975. Like, she's been here longer than I've been born. Like, this is crazy. So that was like ding 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 ding. Like, you don't belong here. So there was that drive again, and I just started looking. Even when the contractors would come as well, like the people from these consultancies, they'd always be younger as well. So I would always be like friends with them compared to like my own colleagues who are old. So, we would always talk, I'd ask them like, what's it like at their companies? How does it work? What kind of roles? So yeah, that's just who I was. And then funny enough though, all the jobs I tried to apply for in top 4, I never got. But then one day I got a message on LinkedIn from someone saying they had a role for me at KPMG. That was how I got the job at KPMG.
That is, see, referrals. It happens. And if you put in the work, you network with a lot of people, and they probably saw, wow, Benedicta's doing great work. She could work here. Let's get her in.
Yeah.
And that's how they did it. Well done. Wow, that is such a great thing. I was also thinking about something. Like, you sound so motivated and determined. So I'm trying to wonder, like, where does that come from? The motivation. You said that your parents were like serial entrepreneurs. Is that where you think you get it? Like the drive? Or do you think it's innate?
I think I get the drive just because my parents are Nigerian. No, I'm joking. If you don't
probably well, true.
You don't do well. No, I think I always say this, hands down, my mum is the most hardworking person I have ever met in my life. Like, I've met amazing women, I've met amazing men, but when it comes to hard work, I'm putting in the graft. Nah, no one does it like my mum. So I think that's where the drive comes from. Like, you just don't stop. You keep on going. And don't get me wrong, I'm not always like on 100. There are days when I'm like, this is a lot. I just want to sit in bed and do nothing. But ultimately, that's not my default. My default is to be optimistic. And obviously, my faith in God, I believe He's gotten me. Like, even just telling my story, I can see where it looked like it was going to go downhill and then it just came back up again. So my faith in God, seeing my mom, she always says to us, the sky is not the limit, the sky is the beginning. So
wow, love that.
She not just to me, like to my siblings as well. So that's what I've grown up with. I've grown up being trying to be the best, trying to always do the best. Like, when we were little, we would go to Saturday school. Like, who goes to Saturday school? Like, they're not teaching you enough Monday to Friday. But it just meant that, I always had this, you need to do more. Like, you don't just stick with what you can see. You do that and you do more, if you get what I mean. I guess maybe that's where it comes from.
Wow. I mean, it comes from somewhere, and it sounds like it does come from, it's innate in you. It comes from your mum and, other factors as well. Definitely. It all contributes to that. Her being driven and you seeing her being hardworking and you being like, look, I want to also be the best version of myself as well. So I was wondering, at what point did you, where did inspiration come from to start Beniratio Finances?
So, like I said, because I've always been around business and my parents do business and I've always enjoyed business, I ultimately have always known deep down that I will have a business and I want to do business, especially because of the freedom that it affords outside of the 9 to 5. But in terms of the confidence to start my own practice, that actually came from one of my ex-colleagues in Department of Health, because he was like an uncle to me at work. And he left to start his own practice, and he literally taught me everything I knew from an accountant. Like, obviously, I'd just come out of uni. I did the course, but that's different from when you work in a company, right? So he taught me everything I knew about accounting, and he ultimately left to start his own accounting firm. And he used to say to me, "Oh, Benedicta, you can do it." Kind of. He would encourage me as well, and he would even say to me, when he has clients, if he can't do their work, he's gonna, get them. Not if he can't do it as in like it's hard, but as in like volume. Like if I want, he can send them to me and we can work together. So he definitely gave me confidence. I mean, even when he had left and I told him I wanted to start and stuff like that, and he had some customers and he was like, he doesn't mind if I want to help, because I had obviously expressed interest. He literally came to my house to teach me how this stuff works. Showed me like the whole back route with HMRC, like what you have to do and everything. So that gave me a lot of confidence to say that I can do it. And so and then I just pushed. Everything else after that is just pushing, like learning. Okay, what do I need to do this? How does this work? How does that work? And then that's from the practical side for me, but in terms of helping people, I do genuinely like to help people, and I realized that accounting, finance, come so easily to me. I never even thought it was anything. I just thought everyone was like this. I thought everyone is good with numbers, until I had specific friends and family who I would help them do like their numbers and their budgets, and they're just like, thank you so much. Like, honestly, I didn't know this, and I just felt like I was, and you see the expression on their face. I'm thinking, I do this all day, every day, and they would literally be like, no, we need your help. So the combination of the technical backing from that colleague and friends and family who appreciated my gift combined together was like, yeah, okay, let's do this. Let's go out and actually genuinely help people. So yeah, here we are, Beniratio Finances.
Wow, that's epic. That is epic, such an epic story. And I wanted to know, like, how did you get your first client? Was it from your colleague? Did you other means?
I think it was just, I can't even remember who exactly my first client is.
That long ago.
I can remember the first batch.
I
can remember the first batch. So like a couple of people that I definitely served in my early days. Some of them a few were from Instagram and a few would be from friends and family. Okay. So when I first launched my Instagram page, obviously I shared it with friends and family to say this is what I'm doing, and then they reached out, and then I just kept on sharing what I did with them, and then ultimately other people who then I didn't know started reaching out and asking me to help them. So
wow, I love that. And hopefully more clients from listeners on this episode as well.
Yes. Hola.
So in terms of what do you want to achieve with Beniratio Finances? What's the 5-year goal? I know you definitely patted this up because you're saying Jura, so what's the 5-year goal?
I know what the ultimate goal is, but I wouldn't say I know where the 5-year goal is. Ultimately, I would say I want Beniratio, and this is gonna sound big in some people's eyes. When I in the first year when I started, after maybe first year and a half, it dawned on me that even if all Beniratio did was help other people, and when I say help other people in terms of giving them employment and being a place for them to receive finances, that was good enough for me. Thankfully I have a job, right? So whether I get customers at Beniratio or not, I'm still eating, right? But and I have other investments and stuff, but I realized that actually the goal for me beyond it's not really about me, it's not really about the name, it's about the business, something that I built helping somebody else, if that makes sense. And that can help, i.e. because we do their tax returns and they're no longer confused, or it can be actually I've now been able to employ 3 people who are able to be confident that I'm going to have money in my bank account at the end of the month to pay my bills because Benedicta has a company and I have a job. Do you get what I mean? So, and then it's the talks as well. When I do talks and people come and, I've been thinking about this. Can you help me with that? I realize how much of a weight is lifted from them. So for me, the ultimate is not really about the nitty gritty of, I did 5 million tax returns or something like that. Or I made 20 million in my company. If I make 20 million and no one's life is changed, that's a waste of 20 million. For me, it's about how many people have been impacted. How many people can say, I'm so glad I spoke to Benedicta today, or I'm so glad that I found this company. I'm so glad that this company exists. That, for me, is the ultimate. It's about impact. It's about helping other people in every and any way possible. And for me, my avenue is just Beniratio Finances to do that, because it allows me to meet people and ultimately help them in that area.
Love that. So, this is why I got you onto the podcast. Good-hearted people. And this is what it's about. It's I feel like if you focus on the impact and the value you bring, all the other stuff is just gonna fall into place. That's just the way I see it, right? If you change people's lives, you have an impact, and you focus on the value, that's just what's gonna happen.
My greatest success in Beniratio, and what makes me happy every single time, is not really about how much someone paid me. It's actually when we get off the phone call and I'm like, that was a really good conversation. I've met people and we've been able to just jive and laugh, and sometimes you realize that actually sometimes they just need a conversation. Someone just needs someone that understands them. And I've had some of my customers turn into friends now. So for me, the value is actually in the relationships, not in the they paid me 500 or they paid me 600, because they can pay you that and hate you.
Exactly.
It's not
That would be
about
terrible. But it's true. They could hate you, and that would be the worst. And it's so transactional, and it's
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm definitely on this same page with you. So actually, I wanted to move on in terms of services and products that you offer. Can you talk me through a few of them? And I wanted to focus more on the business finances part. I know we're going to do a future episode on personal finances, but yeah, business finances.
So to be fair, I'll be honest, like, I did start doing business and personal finance, but I've actually tried to move away from personal finance, if I'm honest.
Okay.
Because there's enough of you great people kicking it and killing it out there. So, you know, I'm going to leave that to you guys to handle. Obviously, I still have all of that expertise instead of, like, you know, in terms of, like, maybe understanding credit and mortgages and stuff like that. But I do try to focus primarily on the business finance. And so, yeah, in terms of services that I offer, of course, I do the legal stuff in terms of, I always call it the making sure you don't get in trouble stuff. Doing your accounts, doing your tax returns, liaising with Companies House and HMRC on your behalf, doing your self-assessment, all of that kind of stuff that could ultimately lead to a fine or somebody sending you some kind of letter to say you haven't done this. I and my team, we can help you out with that. But then the other side is also in terms of management accounting, which you already know that I love. So helping you in the year, depending on the size of your business, if you need someone to help you understand your numbers on a day-to-day, or should I say maybe month-to-month kind of basis, and, you know, understanding your cash flow, making sure that you have enough money to sustain yourself, or making a cash flow plan, you know, planning, just anything that helps you with your finances for business on a regular basis. I help with that. Also the profitability, pricing and profitability. So for some people, when they're starting out, like, okay, how do I price my product in the right way that gives me the right returns and also positions me properly? So I help with that. Obviously, I have a business and economics degree, so it's more than just accounting. Those are the main ones. Obviously, in terms of the accounting as well, not getting in trouble, there are extra things around that. So, for example, bookkeeping, if you need that, payroll, if you need that. Not everybody needs it. So there are, like, additional things that you can add and take away and stuff. But yeah, ultimately, that's it. Everything to do with business finances in year and at the end of the year, we're able to help out with that.
Okay. I loved it. Okay, I kind of want to break down some of these terms because some of the listeners might not know. No, it's fine. Some of the listeners might not understand some of these, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I wanna work with Benedicta, but, like, I wanna understand, like, where she can help me." So okay, so because I think I remember a post, it might have been a year ago, I can't remember now, where you were talking about helping someone set up their business, right? So you help with. So say I had an idea. Let's use me as an example. I had an idea. I wanted to open a shop. I had all the money, whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. I've got the business name, all of that sort of stuff. I want to form the company. I could come to you and you would help me form that as a limited company.
So we do company. Yeah, exactly. So I do company registration as well. I didn't mention that because basically, if you do your business accounting with me, I'll register your company for you for free anyway. Yeah. There are some people who just want me to register their company, or they want advice, like you say. I want to do this business, so what kind of registration should I have? Should I have self-employed? Should I have limited company? How does that affect me? Because a lot of my customers are still working full time, so it's kind of like, okay, if I do it like this, will I pay tax? How much tax will I pay, or how will this affect my tax bill? So I do help out with that as well. If you want to register a limited company, we can help you do that. If you want to register self-employed, obviously depending on your personal circumstances. One thing that people, they sometimes people throw out generic questions. Oh, which one is better, limited or self-employed? It's not about which one is better. It's about, where are you at? Do you have other employment? Do you have other income? How much is that income? Because depending on that is what will determine whether limited is best for you or whether self-employed is best for you. Also, what kind of business are you going into? If you're going into the kind of business where it's a bit risky and you could potentially get sued, you probably want to have a limited company rather than a self-employed company. Do you have personal assets? Because if you don't, then actually self-employed might not be that risky for you. So, it's all of that involved. Do you plan to grow your business on scale, or do you plan to just keep it as a formally registered hobby. Do you get what I mean? So depending on if you want to start to hire people and all of that, then there will be a certain business that's best for you depending on your circumstance.
Okay, wow. And I can see why your customers love you, because you're asking them all these questions to better understand like where their head is at. So using me again as a sample, say a limited company was best for me, right? So you form my company. At that point, what happens? Like what are you doing at that point? What are you going to try to do? Say I say I want to take all of your services.
Okay, so if you want to take all of my services, then after registering the company, we will make sure that you are registered for all the codes and basically the back end. So I'm not going to bore you with all this back end stuff, but we'll just make sure that you're signed up for the right things in the back end. And then on a monthly basis, what we'd be doing is looking at your numbers, looking at your different product lines, looking at your different income streams. And your total income, and then looking at your expenses and your different expenses streams. Again, depending on your plan, are you trying to scale your business? Okay, you would want to look at what's your most profitable product. How much is it costing you to create that product at the moment? If you have a target in mind, I want to make 10 million in the next 6 months. Obviously, you need to be realistic, but you want to make 10 million in the next 6 months. Okay, how much do you need to earn on a monthly basis? How much do you need to sell to earn 10 million? Obviously, we'll be realistic and make it sensible, but we can do that with you. And then on a regular basis, we will have like regular reports against that plan or against that structure. So every month, I have customers that I prepare the monthly management accounts to say, right, this is your situation, this is where you are, and this is how much, you're earning or how much you're losing or how much you've got left. Some customers have a budget. My larger organizations that I work for have a budget already for the year and they need to spend it in the year. So, it's looking like there's an underspend or it's looking like there's an overspend. So I provide the numbers and the reports and I provide the context, because I know that some people are intimidated by numbers. If you just see all, just numbers on a sheet, okay, what does that tell me? And then we'd report against, like we'd set a baseline report and then report against those on a monthly basis in line with obviously whatever plan, target that you have. Whatever goal you have, and then at the end of the year we would of course then actually do the accounting work, the not getting in trouble side of things. So do your annual accounts for you, submit them, do your tax returns, submit them, show you how much you need to pay or if anything needs changing. If you had staff on payroll or you wanted to pay yourself formally, then we would sort out your payroll for you as well. If you wanted us to do your bookkeeping, so I have an affiliation with an accounting software. If you wanted us to use that, we'd set you up for that. We would do your bookkeeping for you. That's if you take the deluxe package.
What does bookkeeping mean when you say
bookkeeping is literally, I call it categorizing or tagging.
Okay.
So nowadays where you have your apps like your mobile banking apps like Starling and Monzo, when you spend something, you can say, oh, this is for groceries or this was for food or this was for travel. So you, before these banks started doing it this way, you needed to do that for your accounting, because when I do your accounts, how do I know what your expenditure is for, if that makes sense? So on a regular basis, ideally you should be doing your bookkeeping, depending on the size of your business. Many businesses that are quite simple can get away with just doing it at the end of the year. So we would just like help you to categorize your expenses, but not just that as well. We would also help you like with your invoice management and chasing, and also reconciling your bank statements with your accounting software as well, to make sure, or reconciling it with your invoices and your receipts as well, to make sure nothing's missing or nothing's taken away or whatever. Because ultimately that bookkeeping is what forms, and that's more of an administrative thing. That forms the foundation for the actual accounts that we prepare, which you really need an accountant for, that ultimately gets submitted, if that makes sense. And then your tax returns come off the back of your accounts. So depending on how profitable you've been, then that will determine how much tax you need to pay. And then we'll help you, we're not going to pay your tax for you, but we'll show you how to pay your tax payment and all of that good stuff there. So, yeah.
Wow. So much information, so many gems. You know your stuff clearly. Wow, that's great. You explained it clearly and I understood everything. So I guess what I want to understand, because you probably come across so many businesses in terms of, like their finances. And I feel like sometimes it's an area that they don't like to take care of. So I wanted to know, why do you think it's important to get the foundations of your business established?
It's important because, like a house, if your foundation is rubbish, the house will fall down eventually, right?
Yeah.
And with business, unfortunately, sometimes people come to me when their accounts are due or when they've received a fine, or why? Because they wasn't looking at anything. I had a lady come to me recently and she's like, oh, I need to do payroll. And I need to do my accounts. And when I spoke to her, I found out that she shouldn't have even set up a limited company in the first place. And now you're gonna have to pay me to undo what you've done, basically. And then you have some people as well who pay themselves incorrectly. People think that because you have a limited company and you're the company director, you can just take money out of the accounts. That money doesn't belong to you. That money belongs to the business, and the business is its own entity. So if you as an individual want the money, there's a formal way and a formal procedure that needs to be done. When you don't do that properly, ultimately you can declare false accounts, false numbers to HMRC, false tax returns, and all of that can be looked into, investigated, and they can come back to you and say, you owe us £10 million. Not 10 million. But you know what I mean? They can come back to you and say, you've done it wrong. And there's only so far that you can claim ignorance, because it's a legal requirement to do this stuff properly. When you sign up to be a company director, they send you a formal letter, and they'll say to you, these are your responsibilities as a company director. So if you don't fulfill them, you could ultimately... I had a very bad story. It's not my customer, thank God. But she came to me when it was too late. She had been declaring certain amounts on her self-assessment for the last however many years. I don't know whether she was doing it in faith or in ignorance or what. But all I know is that HMRC basically said she owes £25,000. And
wow,
it was literally a case of, it's either she's going to have to pay the money or declare that she was being fraudulent on her self-assessment, which can actually be like liable for prison. She's a mother with children. Now, it's like between a rock and a hard place.
That's crazy.
She was declaring income of 100,000.
Oh my gosh.
For multiple years.
Oh my God.
I did that as a mistake. You can't say that's not a mistake. Like, it's different. Like, do you know what I mean? There's things that you can say, oh no, sorry. That 100,000 on multiple times.
Yeah.
Now it's time to pay.
No way. And
you want to tell stories. So I always say people are.
And their self-assessments aren't simple as well, right? They're not simple.
It depends who you are, and it depends how confident you are. Some people do them on their own, and they get them okay. But yeah, if you're not that way inclined, it is always best. And they will say it on every letter. HMRC company. If you don't understand, it's best that you speak to an accountant. If you don't understand, even when you call them, right? When you call them and ask, I have my customers tell me all the time, they say, oh yeah, they said I should speak to my accountant. So you can't say you didn't know that there was help available.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
You got told. I mean, if you're making 100K, you should be able to.
She wasn't making 100K. This is the challenge. This is the actual challenge.
Oh my gosh! So why? I'm not even gonna ask. Why would you say you're making what you're not making? That doesn't even. People don't even say they make higher. A lot of people like to say they make lower than what they make. Why would you even say that you make higher than what you make?
I don't know.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Wow, you've answered the question, because I was gonna ask you what's the biggest mistake you've seen businesses make, and yeah, that's a bad mistake. Wow. Well, I hope that she resolves it and she finds some way out of it. I don't know how she's gonna do that, but wow, that's incredible. I wanted to know from your point of view, what's been the biggest challenge, do you think, for yourself for setting up your own business?
I guess the time to do it all, right? I talked about my crazy days sometimes. Like I said, I don't do that anymore, but that was definitely a challenge. And if you don't have understanding family members, or if you're not willing to stick at it for long, you can easily give up. And the fact it's a catch-22, right? Because the price is high, but the rewards are great. But to get the rewards, you need to pay the price, right? So it's like, do you want to pay the price, or do you want to forfeit the rewards? Even though I've had crazy nights and crazy this and, literally back to back or whatever doing my business, I would have been so disappointed if I didn't do all of that because of the rewards I'm seeing now, if that makes sense. The rewards I'm seeing now make it so like, oh, I'm so glad I did this. Like every time I think about my business, I'm like, I'm so glad I started when I did. I'm so glad I started when I did. I'm so glad I started when I did. I would have hated to have forfeited all of this because I didn't want to pay the price. And so that's the hard bit. And also being willing to stick at it when it looks like it's not yielding anything. That takes a lot of faith. A lot of faith, a lot of confidence in who you are. Knowing that, you know, yes, it might not be yielding fruit right now, but I believe in this. So yeah, that's probably the hardest bit.
Wow. I'm happy for you. And, you know, more rewards in the future are definitely going to be coming. Amen. And I wanted to end it with this question because I realized I always ask people what their financial mistakes are, and then I was like, actually, I want to know what the opposite is as well. Like we start with the failures, but what's the opposite, right? So what's your greatest financial achievement?
My greatest financial achievement is buying my second property at the age of 30.
Wow. Congratulations. Wow, mad. Second one, you know.
Yeah. And
that's insane.
That might seem like a bit unreachable for some people. So I'll say another one, probably like the second best, which is probably being able to have my salary and my business income run, because it's definitely allowed me to have a more expensive lifestyle than I would have been able to have on my salary alone. So
yeah,
that's achievable for anyone, literally. And I say I'm not saying everyone should quit their job, but everyone should have a side income, side business, whether you legitimize it or not. Have another stream of income and make that income work for you. That's what I would say is my best. Yeah,
I agree. I think having a side income just protects you in case of the worst case scenario. You know, we just never know what will happen. So if you've got some other money coming in, you're like, okay, yeah, I've lost my job, but at least I've got my own money coming in, and actually I can maybe scale it. And I think, you know, something very important when you learn, you know, the difference I think for 9 to 5 then and then starting your own business, the only difference is that you're learning how to make your own money. You're just using the same skills that you do in your 9 to 5, but you're learning, how do I actually generate the money myself? I'm not relying on my company to do it for me. I'm now doing it, and I think it's a very invaluable skill. Once you learn that, you can't unlearn it. You'll always be able to do it.
You're always going to think about it, and even like you start to think about or see business ideas in everything.
Yeah,
like
exactly. It's crazy. It's mad, like how your mind switch. So I wanted to get like a final word from you for the listeners.
A final word? Oh my gosh. Pressure.
No pressure at all.
I actually, for someone who speaks a lot, I don't know if I have a final word. What is a final word? I don't know. I guess
anything you want to say.
Do the work and have faith in God. I feel like that's the magic. I feel like that's the X factor. I feel like you have to have faith in something beyond yourself, because if you limit it on yourself, you'll just be like, I can't do this. Like, you have no reason to think you can do it. But having faith in something higher, someone more powerful than you, I think it gives you that that leap up. But at the same time, it does not excuse you from having to do the work. Get up and do the work, basically. I was saying at the end of last year, my phrase was, if you work it, it will work for you. So work it.
Love it. You should trademark that. You gotta be trademarking these slogans because people be stealing them. This is what people do.
Money from them as well.
Start stealing stuff. Yes, it's actually mad. I love that. And in terms of, so what's next for you?
For me, continue to grow, continue to scale. I'm increasing the size of my team very shortly. So yeah, to enable us to have more capacity. But I say this all the time. I want to quit my 9 to 5. But I feel like underneath, I might still be addicted to the salary, but we'll talk about that separately. But yeah, no, the ultimate is obviously to do this all full time and have the income that actually I don't have to work. It's not that I don't have the income to not be able to work. I think maybe because it's still early days, I want to, maybe when I see the growth and the consistency for a long period of time, then I'll feel like, yeah, okay, I can do that. So yeah, that's the goal.
Wow, rooting for you. Good luck. We'll interview in we'll interview again soon, and then we'll see how it's going. We'll catch up with you as well.
Yes.
And where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me on social media, Instagram, Beniratio Finances, Twitter, Beniratio, website, BeniratioFinances.com. What else? TikTok. Oh, I'm on TikTok now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have been seeing your TikTok. Yeah, I've been liking your stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, Beniratio Finances. Where else? All the usual suspects. YouTube, Beniratio. I need to revive my YouTube, but we are there. So yeah, just Google Beniratio Finances. There's only one.
Love it. Thank you so much for coming onto this episode of Take Off Podcast. I'm sure the listeners. No, you're welcome. You're very welcome. Like, thanks for taking the time out and providing so much information. I think the listeners are gonna definitely love this one. You're doing great things. I don't even remember how we connected actually on Instagram. Not like I don't even remember like when I first started following you or you following me. I'm not sure. I can't remember at what point and then when we first started talking. But I definitely had a great vibe and a great energy from you. And yeah, you've always been supportive of the content, and you didn't really know me, so I always appreciate that, and always appreciate connecting with people and like-minded people. I think it's very important to highlight people who are doing great things. Because I think it's just super important, and it helps to motivate the next generation as well, to know that actually it is achievable.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you, listeners, to listening to this episode of the Take Off Podcast, and yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yes. Bye. Thank you.